If you're watching this, you're already on the third assignment. So I'm going to try and do this as fast as possible. Explain everything as fast as possible because I'm trying to take less than 5 minutes in doing to the problems. So to start out with, what are we going to be doing today? I even spelled it around up here. We actually going to be simplifying square roots. All right, that's exactly what you see up there. That's what I'm going to highlight for right now. This is what we're doing today. We're going to be simplifying square roots. And how do we do that? Well, there's two things that you need to understand whenever you're simplifying square roots. First one is factors. Second one is going to be finding groups. That's all you need to know. All right. So I'm going to give you a number and we're going to work this together. So 12. Okay. What are factors? Factors are going to be two or more numbers or letters. It doesn't matter. It can be letters or numbers that's separated, or in other words, I have two numbers or two letters. When I put them together, it's gonna make a bigger number. You might be like, what do you mean? Well, 12. You see 12 right here, right? So factors of 12. What two numbers? Now we're talking about numbers here. What two numbers give me 12? So I know for a fact 2 and 6 are going to give me 12. Meaning that 2 and 6 are factors of 12. Because if I put them together, they are going to equal 12. Right? But at the time being, they're separated. Doesn't change the fact they're still factors. Now, whenever you're doing factoring, you're going to have to do it until you reach a prime number. And I have it underlined, or I had it. Oh, no. I had it already written out over here, and I'm going to put it in a different color. You're going to be able to see. I'm going to upload this so you guys can see it as well. But I hope you guys watch the video first. If you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you're going to do fine in this assignment. It's not very hard. It's just pretty simple stuff. But a lot of people get confused because of the whole factoring thing. So right here, you see the 12? I'm going to stop until I find a prime number. So, if you look closely, I already wrote some prime numbers. So we have 2, 3, 5, and 7. Obviously, there are going to be more numbers out there that are prime numbers. But for the time being, I just want you to focus on those. All right. Sometimes you're going to need a bigger prime number, and you're going to figure out that. In other words, what is a prime number? And I'm just going to tell you real quick. A prime number is a number that in order to get it, by multiplication, let's call it. In order to get a number by multiplication, you can only get it by multiplying that number with 1. There's no other way you can get that number. And you might be thinking, well, I mean, they might be different. If you get a decimal, you might be able to do it. But no, both of them have to be whole numbers. So in other words, if you multiply two whole numbers together, it can only be a 1 in itself. Okay? So 2. The only way to get 2 is multiplying 1 times 2. In order to get 3 is 1 times 3. In order to get 5 is just 1 times 5. In order to get 7 is just 1 times 7. So all those are prime numbers. Okay, that's all you need to remember. And I already gave you a list of some of them that you're going to be using today. So now, is 6 a prime number? No. I can get 6. 6 has two different sets of factors. One of them is obviously 1 and 6. And the other one's going to be 2 and 3. Okay. So once we get there, you're going to notice that there's going to be a point whenever you're doing, and we call this a factoring tree. Usually a lot of people call it a factoring tree. I'm going to put it in right here. Factoring tree. And that's what we're going to be doing today for every problem. Factoring tree. You're going to continue the factoring tree until you find a prime number. Okay? That's when you know you need to stop. As you can see, I only have prime numbers right now, so I'm going to stop there. That's the first thing you need to understand. The second thing that you need to understand is groups. So I'm going to do a little drawing here so you guys understand. I have a square, I have a square, I have a triangle, I have a triangle, and I have a circle. Now, I have 5 different items, okay? And whenever you're working with square roots, I'm going to tell you already, we're going to be working with groups of 2. If you get a cube root, quadratic root, you're going to have to find different groupings. But for square roots, I'm going to repeat again. For square roots, we're going to be using groups of 2. So here, out of the 5 items, do I have any groups of 2? And the answer is obviously going to be yes, because I'm doing it on purpose. I'm going to notice that I have 2 squares. That's one group. And I'm going to do a little error. I'm going to put a little square here. Why am I doing that? I'm specifying that, yes, I have one group of squares. Over here, I can see that I also have one group of triangles. So I'm going to do the same thing. I only have one group of triangles. Right? That's it. So if you can do a factoring tree over here, and then you can groups, then that's you can do the entire assignment. Now, if we go back to the groupings, can I group the circle? No, because I only have one circle. I don't have 2 circles, so I'm going to leave it there. And you're going to be doing that today too. And I'm going to be explaining how that works. So yeah, that's all you need to know. That's all the basics that you need to know in order to do a simplifying radical or square roots. So the first problem that you're going to see on your assignment is going to be, what is the square root of 300? So just to go faster, because I'm already taking 6 minutes going to 7, we're going to do this quick, because I'm pretty sure you guys are pretty smart. Now, I have a really big number, and I don't know the specific number that's going to give me like the perfect, shortest factoring tree that can figure it out. If you don't know, always start with the number that you know that works. What can be divisible by this? I know I can divide by 3, by 5, and by 2. In this case, I'm just going to divide by 2 because it's going to make it easier on me. So I'm going to divide the whole thing by 2. So 2 and what gives me 300? 2 and 150. When you're working on this, what I want you guys to do, I want you guys to go ahead and put a line on the number that you're finding the factors from. The reason why I want you guys to do this is because we're no longer going to use that number anymore, because we already separated into 2 different halves. Now, second thing that I want you guys to do, and you can do this while you're going through or at the very end, I want you either to underline, shade, or circle your prime numbers. So I know 2 is a prime number, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oops. But we're not done with the factoring tree yet. We still have to continue. What number can I divide 150 by? Well, again, I'm going to use 2. I know 2 and 75 is going to give me 150. Again, I'm going to put a line on 150 because I'm no longer going to use that number. I don't want to get confused. And also, I'm going to underline, or in my case, I'm just going to shade the 2. So I know that's a prime number, and we're going to be using that later. I'm going to keep going. What 2 numbers give me 75? Back in the day, you used to pay in cash. So I know that 4 quarters makes 100. And if you take 1 quarter, you have 75, right? So I know 3 and 25 are going to be factors of 75. Okay, again, I'm going to put a line on 75 because I'm no longer going to use that one. I'm going to shade into 3. Next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to need to find a number for what? 25. What 2 numbers give me 25? I know the answer already. It's going to be 5 and 5. And in this case, oh no, that's not what I wanted. I keep doing the wrong thing. I'm going to shade my prime numbers and, oh my God, doing everything wrong. And I'm going to put a line under 25 because I'm no longer going to use that one. So that's the hardest part that you need to focus on. Okay? That's the hardest thing. Now, what are you going to do afterwards? It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. So we did factors already. I'm going to put it here, factors. I'm going to put check mark. that we're already done with that. Now, what do we need? Groups. We haven't done the groups yet, so we still need that. So how are we going to do for groups? Like I said, whenever you're working with square roots, you need to find groups of 2. So I'm going to circle whenever I have a group of 2. So I'm going to have this group, and I'm going to have this group right here. Okay, just like I did before, whenever I had triangles and squares, I'm going to push out only one of the numbers on the inside. As you can see, I have what? I have one group of 2, and I have one group of 5. Okay, that's fine and all, but what am I going to do with those 2 numbers? Okay, because whenever you find groups of 2s, whenever you're doing square roots, what that means is that you're going to be able to take out a number outside of the square root. So let's rewrite the square root again. But now we no longer have the 300 inside. We're going to have different number. Or sometimes you're not even going to have anything inside because everything just simplifies completely. But in this case, that's not the case. We're actually going to have something inside, and I'll show you what it's going to be. Now, every time that you find a grouping, you're going to grab only one. Okay? Whenever you find a grouping, meaning this right here, you can only take out one of the numbers. Okay? So that means I'm going to be taking out a 2, and I'm going to be taking out a 5. So on the outside, if you take multiple numbers, you're going to have to multiply. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to be taking out a 2 and a 5 on the outside, meaning that those 2 numbers are going to get multiplied outside. Now, you're going to notice that we have one number left over. We have a 3. What are we going to do with that number? Actually, because it doesn't have any groups, it's all by itself, it's going to stay inside of the square root. So we're going to have a 3 inside. So what is my simplified answer? Once I multiply everything through, you're going to notice that your answer is going to be 10 square root of 3, which equals the square root of 300. They mean the same thing, but if you look at the 10 square root of 3, it's a lot easier on your eyes, right? It's a lot easier. You can see it. It looks prettier and whatnot. And that's it. That's simplifying square roots. Are we done? No, because I want to show you how to do number 2, because you might have this happen to you later on. So let's go back and look at question number 2. And this is a freebie. I'm giving you guys this one just so you know. What's different between the first problem and the second problem? You're going to notice that we already have a number outside of my square root. That number is going to be important later on. For the time being, we don't have to worry about it so much. But later on, it's going to become an issue. And we're going to have to deal with that accordingly. So first things first, what do we do first? Factors. What are my factors of 175? So I'm already going to start. I know it's going to be 3 and what? No, it's not going to be 3. It's not 3. I'm mistaken. Let me change this real quick. It could be 3, but I'm doing it on the top of my head. I'm trying to do pretty numbers. I know 25 and something, right? If you remember 25, right? We have 100, so that'll be 1 4. And that will be 25 and 7, I believe. I might be mistaken, but I think that's correct. Now, is 7 a prime number? Yes. Oh my goodness. I keep doing this. Yes, 7 is a prime number, so I'm going to highlight it. Now I'm going to put a line on 150. The reason why I'm doing that is because we're no longer going to use it. Now, can I find the factors of 25? Yes, we know 25 is going to be 5 and 5. Okay? Are 5 and 5 prime numbers? Yes, I'm just going to highlight it. And this one's shorter than the other one. You notice how the other one, our factoring tree, was very big? And this one, we only do 2 different ones. This might change depending on how you separate your problem. But for the most part, it shouldn't take you that long to get to the answer. Now, do I have any groups? In some cases, you're going to notice that you don't have any groups. If you don't have any groups, that means your square root cannot be simplified, and you're just going to write cannot be simplified. But in this case, do I have a groups of 2? Yes, I do. I have this double 5s. I'm going to do a little arrow, and I'm going to put a 5. What that stands for is that I can only take out one of the 5s. So I'm going to rewrite my square root. And I just did the square root. What did I say that we're going to do to any number that's outside of the square root? We're going to multiply. So over here, because we already have a -4 outside, we're going to multiply that -4 by the 5 that we're taking out. And a lot of people forget to do this. A lot of people forget how to do this year, or last year. And I don't want you guys to forget. So that's why I'm showing you how to do number 2. Yes, obviously I have a group of 2. Whenever you have square roots, you need to find the groups of 2. Once you have a group, you can only get one of those inside of the group outside. Okay, that's why I did my little arrow thing here. I can only take one of the 5s. Now, it's anything that's going to be left inside. Remember, anything that does not have a group is always going to be left inside the radical. As you can see, I have a 7. Does the 7 have a group? No, it doesn't. So that one's going to be staying inside. So my answer, my simplified answer for this problem is going to be -20 square root of 7 is equal to -4 square root of 75. And that's it. I know this video is 16 minutes long, and I'm just going to put the notes on there. If you can follow along with just the notes, then you should be fine with this. But I wanted to make sure that we did the factoring and then we did the grouping, so you guys know exactly what to do whenever you're doing this type of problems, right? First, find your factors. Second, find your groups. And then you can just start moving stuff out of the square root. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Today and tomorrow is going to be doing exactly the same thing. I might just show you guys how to do with letters, but it's basically the same process. You factor first, and then you find your groups. And that's it. So if you watched the entire thing, thank you. This one's a little long, I know, but I just want to make sure I explain everything as easy as possible for you guys.